What's up, everybody? Once again, it is I, James, coming to you from the Nerdy Mewzings podcast studio, recording the very first episode of the new year. I am here today with Angelina from Fireflyslime. How's your new year going, Angelina?
It's going great. Thanks for having me.
And most importantly, how's your day going?
Just getting my day started.
Nice. Now, I see behind you there, we have a lot of slime making supplies.
Yeah,
You are very
absolutely.
organized. That's awesome.
Yeah, we have a whole shelf here of Chuck
Wow.
glue. Yeah, lots of stuff in here. It's like a candy store for many people. Like they run in, they see
Oh,
all
I
the
bet.
colors. So exciting.
Now, have you always been that organized?
I'd like to think so. Like I like things visually looking very nice. And even if it is messy, I still know like where things are, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
You find productivity wise, it helps you to know where everything is
Yeah,
and be able to grab
absolutely.
exactly what you need.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting how we met. So it's been what, two or 3 weeks now ago?
Already? Wow.
I think so, right? It's been a while. It was before
Yeah.
Christmas. So
Oh, you're
we
right.
uh, we were business owner guests on a panel,
Yeah.
a youth group panel where they were
Hmm.
working on understanding business, and it was really fun. They came up with their own little businesses that we got to judge and everything.
Yeah.
But part of it that it was that we spoke, and they had all sorts of really cool questions. I was very impressed with their line of
Hmm.
questioning and everything. And I told my wife when I got back, I said, my faith in humanity is a little bit more restored, seeing how like bright these kids
Uh,
were and the stuff they were coming up with. What were some of your takeaways from that experience?
just thought it was so cool that there were so many people. I assume they're like voluntarily being there and doing some after school activity where work together on all these cool entrepreneurship projects. Like
Yeah,
when I was in high school, I didn't know of anything of these sorts, I guess. Like I knew about DECA. I knew about, I guess that's like the only business
yeah,
related one that was in my high school. Everything else is more focused with like STEM or leadership skills. Uh, but it's really great. Like I really wish that I had more opportunities when I was younger to like meet people that were doing business or meet people that were in different fields. And it really would help me figure out like where I wanted to go, what I wanted to explore.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and I didn't really get exposed to many of those things until I think I went to college, is when I started meeting so many people that were interested in entrepreneurship or had clubs that were solely focused on entrepreneurship or meeting speakers that were already in their ventures for 10 years and doing great
Yeah.
or like had started 10 different businesses. So whenever I get opportunities to be that person for someone else, I always would like to say yes.
Yeah, it was so cool. And it was funny because when I told you how long I'd been in business, you're like, oh, that's longer than I've been alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that like, as different as our businesses are, we had so many commonalities in the
Hmm.
things and the way we answered the questions that they had. Like,
Hmm.
so I think just for the benefit of the people listening or watching, we need to give everybody the background on Firefly Slime,
Yeah.
how it got started, when you got started making slime, and I have the benefit of knowing the answer to a lot of these questions, but our audience doesn't. So I want to give you an opportunity to let everybody know how this evolved into what it is today, because, like I said, judging by the supplies in the background, it's gotten pretty big.
Yeah, absolutely. So Fireflyslime started when I was 14. It was back in 2017, so that makes me 22 now. I had always just really loved crafty things. Like I taught myself how to crochet during COVID. I always loved painting and sculpting and baking and doing things where you turn a bunch of ingredients or supplies into something new. And I really love
Yeah.
creativity aspect, and I've always been drawn to those things. So I just discovered slime, and I always compare it to baking, where there's a bunch of ingredients and you can make it into a bunch of different things and be creative with it. Um, and I just started posting my creations on Instagram just to share like the things that I was making. I wanted to post photos and videos. Like I would make a slime creation that resembled a little beach. And it would have like
Okay.
the sand area and like little palm trees. And I just like really loved like swirling colors together and just posting for fun. And then um, people started commenting like, where can I buy this? Where do you sell this? And I was like, that's so odd. Like, why would you want I didn't realize there was like a demand for this. I'm just like, it's
Yeah.
something I'm just making for fun. So I started a very small, quote unquote, temporary Etsy shop.
Yeah.
And that's where I just started posting some of the things that I was starting to sell and learning the little ins and outs of what a business like needs. Um, and then a couple years down the line, I transferred to a Shopify account just to get more freedom with the things that I was doing on my website and things like that. Um, and it's been really fun. Like I've had so many great opportunities from the business. I was on Studio 13 on Fox, I think
That's
a year ago
crazy.
now. I was on Scholastic magazine, which is amazing because I grew up reading those magazines. So seeing my face
Right.
in one was a really amazing moment.
Yeah.
And having like tangible things where it's like a magazine or like something I could turn on the TV, like it's a really great way to show my family because having an e-commerce business, you don't really see the impact that you're making unless you look at like the numbers or the people that post the
Yeah,
reviews.
totally.
But having something tangible to show your family, it's a completely different um, way of like having them understand like the things that you're doing and the impact that you're
Yeah.
making.
And
I've
that it's an actual valid,
Yeah, it's like an
like,
actual thing that like
yeah.
reaches so many people and inspires so many people, and like the numbers really will take you so far. But like
Yeah.
it's really great to have all those things, and yeah, I've been able to travel the country to go to different conventions to sell slime and meet fans, and it's been really amazing. Like I'm really glad that I somehow stumbled upon this, and it's I love doing it, so it's really fun for me too.
So I would venture to guess that this was not your plan as
Absolutely not.
far as your career path. So
Hmm.
I find it kind of neat how that works out sometimes. Like I think I told you a little bit, it was kind of the same thing for me. Like I had
Hmm.
never intended to teach jujitsu as my profession. And then, I was like in web design and graphic design and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff and thought that I was going to do something with computers and all of this. And it was like the same thing. I started teaching jujitsu a little bit for free to give back to my old karate school that I trained at. And then it was like, people were like, "Oh, how much did it cost? I want to do it too." I wasn't even
Yeah, and I'm like,
charging.
I don't know.
Uh, come up with
Yeah.
a random number, that you think
Yeah.
is good, and go from there. So yeah. So what were you planning on doing prior to all of this kicking off? Did you kind of have a little bit of an idea of your career path, like that you were envisioning for yourself before this blew up the way it did?
I mean, probably similar to most 14-year-olds out there. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had very little like inklings here and there, things that I liked, things that I didn't like. There was a lot of pressure from family to pursue like engineering or a medical degree.
Right.
So I thought I was going to be a pediatrician or a psychiatrist or something that would kind of go more towards medical, but I knew it wasn't my passion. But I
Yeah.
haven't figured out what that passion was. So I just kind of was like, well, I guess I'll go that direction and see what happens. Um, and this business made me completely pivot. Like I ended up getting a bachelor's degree in business administration. So that completely
Nice.
did a 180.
Yeah.
And I joined like all the clubs that were business related. I ended up being the president of our entrepreneurship club, vice president of the marketing club, and senior advisor for women in business. So
Oh, very
very
cool.
highly involved on campus and getting all of the clubs that came my way and going to every single event. And yeah, I'm so glad that this happened. Because if it wasn't for the business, I probably would be in or applying for medical schools right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because that was kind of a thing to do, like a
Hmm.
successful career path, right? Like
Yeah.
we all kind of have this vision for
The more
ourselves,
traditional path.
more traditional,
Hmm.
yeah, in the high income type of job is
Yeah.
like, all right, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. But it's
Hmm.
so cool when you can end up doing something you're actually passionate about
Hmm.
for your livelihood. And when you started all of this, like obviously you didn't know how big it was gonna get. So take me back a little bit to the moment you realized that this was really taking off, and you were probably a little surprised, a little
Yeah.
shocked, and trying to figure it
Yeah.
out because you were so much, young in the game as far as
Hmm.
somebody learning how a business works. So, what was that like for you? What was the moment where you were like, "Oh man, this is getting big really quick"? I'm sure you probably had a video go viral or something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I was very fortunate that my start was very rapid. And as people were discovering what slime was again, they were discovering my name and all my videos. So my social media following really kickstarted this whole journey because the numbers were going up so fast. Like with
Right.
my follower account at one point, I was gaining like 10,000 followers a day.
Oh, that's
And it
crazy.
was just from me posting like goodbye silly videos and not thinking too hard of not overthinking and like planning and strategy and all that. It was just like this is what I like to do, and I think it really resonated with people.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that comes
yeah.
across when people are
Hmm.
actually posting things that they genuinely
Yeah.
love and it because they enjoy it
Hmm.
versus it being manufactured in order to
Definitely.
get views and hope that it goes
Yeah.
viral and everything, right?
Yeah. Especially nowadays, you kind of can tell like when there is some type of strategy behind it. Like when you hear someone use that hook in the beginning of the video or like
Yeah.
certain editing features that they use, like you know it's made to optimize some type of like retention or anything like that. And
Yes.
like everyone nowadays can spot like an ad from a mile away and like we can sense all these things because of how much we're exposed to it. So when you come across content that feels genuine, it's really rare, sadly, but
It
it
is,
really
yeah.
sticks with people. I think it's really important to focus on content that feels like what's genuine to what you want to create and what you want to do with your platform.
Now, as things are blowing up and you're gathering 10,000 followers a day,
Yeah.
and at that point, was that when it was still relatively small as far as the avenues that you were using to sell your slime, or
Um, yeah.
did you adapt that based on the demand and kind of evolve and grow things in that regard?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't completely remember like 8 years ago when I started
Yeah.
all that. But I do know that it kicked off very rapidly for sure. So I had not that much problem, fortunately, with like selling out with like all the products that I was making. And of course, I made me realize that I needed to wrap up production and buy a mixer, buy things in bulk, and decide that like I need to focus more on making more varieties of things because I just would want to focus on a select number of products, but then make a lot of them. But I
Yeah.
realized that people really love choice in terms of like variety of different colors and textures and scents, different styles. So I really focused on like expanding the catalog. Um, and it really helped a lot because then there was always something that people wanted, like hearing people's feedback. And also like I love like having friends or family discover the business and they're like looking through the website themselves and hearing real time feedback of like, oh, I like this one, but I want it in this color. Like, oh, do
Oh,
you like this
yeah.
certain style? And I'm like, okay, nodding, like noting all those things down. Like, I need to
Yes.
have more of those things. Um, yeah, it was really great initially. Like, I really learned how to kind of guesstimate like how much I would need to make of something, and of course that would increase as time went on. And I had to figure out like shipping and all those things, and it was really complicated in the beginning. But
Yeah.
now it's just like I can do it with my eyes closed. Like I've done so much of it. I feel like I go into like Amazon fulfillment warehouse mode where I'm just like
Yep.
shipping label, box, tape, package. Like I feel like I'm a robot, but it's
You
really
get
great. Like
in you get
yeah, I'm
into
like
that flow, the
in the
flow
flow,
state.
but I
Yeah.
also feel like it's like me time in a way where like I put on a nice podcast or I binge like another movie that I've seen a million times and I have it in the background while I'm
Yeah.
working. And it really does feel relaxing to me and like something that I really love to do at the end of the day. Where some people may see as very like tedious, but I really love it. Um, and yeah, and like having all those little things where people might not find it as like their favorite part of business, but like turning it into a way where you would enjoy it more. Like for me, putting something on in the background that I enjoy listening
Yeah.
to, having that be like a relaxing time for me. Yeah, it really does make like all those little aspects something you appreciate more.
Little bit of escapism there, right? Like
Yeah,
you can just
yeah.
kind of shut your brain off and go into
Hmm.
work mode and
Yeah.
enjoy what you're doing. That's really
Hmm.
cool. Yeah, that's what I do when I draw. I'll put on like a podcast to listen
Hmm.
to, or I'll like you said, if you put something on that you've seen a bunch of times, you won't be
Yeah.
distracted to pay attention to it. You can just listen
Yeah.
to it and enjoy.
Hmm.
Yeah. So when you're creating slime, there's a lot that goes into this because
Absolutely.
it's not just the color, it's the texture and
Yeah.
the things that people can put in it and the
Hmm.
scent and all of this stuff. So could you take everybody through a little bit of the process of making the slime? And obviously you're making a lot
Yes.
because you have to fulfill a lot of orders.
Hmm.
So how does all of this work? Like, do you keep a certain amount on hand of ones that you know are bigger sellers, or is it something that needs to be made? Like, do you try to keep it pretty fresh and like not have it sitting around for a long period of time? Because me personally, I don't know a whole lot about it other than what
Yeah.
my nieces have shown me and everything. So give me a slime 101 tutorial.
Sure. Yeah. So everything's made in house. So I have a big mixing machine. Like if you ever seen the big industrial mixers that like bakeries use for dough,
Yep.
I use that but for slime. And
Okay.
so yeah, everything is made. And then depending on what textures, there's a ton of textures out there. There's ones that are more dough-like, that are more holdable. I recommend them the best for beginners. So they would be like butter slime or cloud cream, and they have clay in them, so it makes it easier to work with. And like
Okay.
I recommend it for like little kids too. It's easier to like handle. People really love texture, so there's ones with beads in them. There's like slushy slime, foam. There's Bingsu, and like all these different ones that have different types of beads that make different types of sounds,
Okay.
different types of feels. And there's other ones that incorporate like instant snow. So there's like jelly slime, icy slime. There's a ton. There's like a whole
This is
world that
crazy.
you can create with
Yeah.
just slime. Yes. And then I have a whole wall of fragrances from like bakery scents from like peanut butter cookies and peanut butter and jam and like different fruits. So like mango, apple, strawberry, everything you could think of. There's different candy scents. So I have like jelly bean, um, like blue Hawaiian, pina colada, and all these things. And it makes it so that there's so many different combinations that you can make. And then I have walls of sprinkles and beads and colorings and like glitter and shaped glitter and glow in the dark things. And it's just so fun because you can make so much with it. And like
So
you
many
can give
options and
someone like,
variety, right?
yeah, you can give someone like an idea of something and everyone will make a different version of what they think that idea would be. So it's a really great way to just be creative and it's so fun. But yeah, after the slime is made, I normally store it, as you can see back here,
Yep.
um, until the bubbles rise. So as the slime is being made, a lot of bubbles are incorporated into the slime as you're mixing, kind of like baking as well.
Yeah.
Which can, if you just pack it immediately, it slowly over time starts to shrink down because the bubbles are rising. So I like to store mine until they're ready, and then I pack them into jars. I have thousands of cards
I was
here.
gonna say you gotta have a
Yeah,
bunch.
um, yeah, and then like every jar has to be labeled and labeled with the sticker on top and the like caution sticker on the side, and then every there's just so much that goes into one little product. Yeah, like of course, so like there's recipes that I follow that I've like reworked over the past 8 years. I'm always experimenting with different things like that people may not have added into slime. Like maybe I'll come up with the next texture.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's so fun. Like just looking around, like there's just so much like color and craziness going on, but
I
it's really
imagine it
great.
smells. I imagine it smells pretty
Yeah, like
good.
after I make
You're
a batch of
making all
anything,
that.
I always have someone walk in like, why does it smell like pineapple in here? Like
Yeah.
it's this bottle, smell it. And yeah.
So you've kind of refined your process, I'm
Yeah.
assuming. Like you figured out the best way to make the different types,
Mhm.
and it sounds like you're trying to innovate a little bit too,
Yeah.
experimenting, coming up with
Mhm.
new ideas. Have you always been this creative? Has it been something like, were there other areas? Like I know you mentioned like this combines kind of like elements of baking and things with
Mhm.
that, and combined with the creativity aspect, but were you ever into like drawing or art or
Absolutely.
anything like that on top of
Yeah.
this?
When I was younger, I always told people I wanted to be an artist.
Okay.
And that was always shut down because they're like, being an artist is a real job or
Yeah.
it's not sustainable or,
You know what's funny?
you
That's
know,
what all the comic book
yes,
professionals I have on, they say
exactly.
that's what the
But you
everybody
find
around
your
them.
own way to be an artist. And I
Yeah.
consider this art in a way like
Oh, it
you,
very much is.
yeah, like it's really great. And like of course, I was always into drawing and sketching and like watercolor. And I bought like all the fancy highlighters when I wanted to do like calligraphy. Like I was really into
Yeah.
calligraphy. So I bought all like the brush pens and things like that. And like even today, like I find other ways that I um, would love to be creative. Like I'm really into scrapbooking and
Oh,
junk
nice.
journaling, and I still draw. And like I love making those like miniature. I don't know if you've seen them. They're like miniature cafes or miniature libraries
Oh,
that you can
yeah.
like create out of like little pieces that you put together. Like I really love
Yep.
doing those. Um, and yeah, like I like love like collages and it kind of just everything like that. Like I always knew that when I was looking for some type of like, job in the future, I always wanted some type of creative aspect in it where like something was different every day. I would have some type to be or like some type of avenue to be creative. And I always gravitated towards those kinds of projects like in school and work and everything like
I was going to ask you, did you design your sticker?
that is the only thing that I have outsourced. Like I work
Okay.
closely with a designer to do my little logo, and
Yep.
he has made a couple variations of my Firefly mascot, like doing different things that I put on stickers.
Yeah.
Because
It's super cute. Yeah, it turned
yeah,
out really good.
I tried to do some sketches of my own, but it just wasn't the style that I was looking for.
Yeah.
So I created a big like
I had to do the
vision
same
board and I
thing.
gave it to him. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to do the same thing with my logo. I could get it to a certain point and I
Hmm.
could sketch it out the way I kind of had in my head, but then when I would
Hmm.
start trying to digitize it and make it look right in the computer
Hmm.
and everything, I ended up same thing, outsourcing, and then the
Yeah.
person took what I had, and then from what that person gave me, I was able to refine, and then I got it
Hmm.
exactly how I wanted. So I think it's important for, people to realize like you don't always have to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
Like if you
Yeah,
get
for
hung
sure.
up on something, definitely, outsource to somebody who
Hmm.
that's their passion and their expertise,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. I definitely reached out to many artists at the time when I was looking to revamp my logo. Until I settled on one that I really loved. And yeah, it's so cute. I had it for years now, and I don't know if you can really see in the
Yeah,
background
I
with the
can
little
see it. Yeah.
firefly. Yeah, and then I have like the Halloween version of it and the Christmas version of it and Valentine's, and I switched it out depending on like the different seasons that are coming in, and it's really fun. Yeah.
So speaking of seasons, I wanted to ask you, did you just come off of like a pretty crazy,
Yeah.
workload from the
Yeah.
holidays. I
Yeah.
have to
Always
imagine
a
for
busy time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your peak holidays? I would guess that Christmas is probably going to be the biggest
hmm
one out of all of them.
Yeah. Christmas is definitely the biggest one, followed by like Black Friday, which I kind of consider like really close to the same thing because they're really
Yeah.
close time wise. And then like summertime, people really love finding things to do, and they're like more around like their friends and they're out doing something. So I really love releasing like different summer inspired slimes that are more like tropically, more I I add more of like the fruit related plants
Okay.
when it's summertime. But yeah, like throughout the year, I think it's pretty consistent. It just goes up and down, but like nothing spikes like Black Friday and Christmas for
Yeah,
sure.
I bet.
So yeah, I always know like when the months are approaching, it's almost like November. I'm like, okay, this is the time to lock in because it's gonna get crazy. Yeah.
Start bracing. You got to brace yourself, right? Do
Mhm.
you do you roughly have an idea of how many orders you fulfilled like over the holidays?
Um, I don't know. It's always changing per year. I haven't
Yeah.
looked at the numbers for 2024 yet, but yeah,
You
it's really
probably you
crazy.
probably have a basic idea just of how busy you were.
Yeah,
Probably pretty
think about it.
crazy.
I think actually I don't remember. I don't remember last year's numbers. But yeah, it's really crazy. Like I end up working like 10 hours a day
I
many
was gonna
days.
say you're
So,
probably still
hmm
recovering.
yeah,
But when you're doing something you love, like that's what people, I think there's no such thing as like, oh, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Like, no,
hmm
when you run your own business, there's elements of it that are
yeah,
difficult and are work, but it's just we're doing something we love, so it doesn't have as big of an impact,
hmm
because we enjoy ourselves. What are some of the aspects that you find the most challenging? It sounds like I would have guessed the shipping part, but it sounds like you kind of go into a zen flow state when you do that.
yeah.
Are there any elements of running the business that stand out as more difficult than the others for you?
Uh, I think because my business is still reliant on like being creative, I really need to focus on not burning out because I'm constantly making new things. So then when I get into a state where like I feel the pressure to be like, okay, I need to think of something and the thing that I'm really producing is, I guess, like my best work because I'm forcing it in a way.
Yeah.
I never want to feel like I'm forcing creativity or not putting things out there that are things that I'm proud of. So when that happened, like I decided that I wanted to slow down on making new products because I just wanted to come out with the things that I really loved. Um, and when I was in like a spot where I just could not really think of anything, I started going with different themes. So each restock had some type of theme to it. Like I had an aquarium restock, I had a birthday related restock, and that allowed me to think of things that were within that theme, and it really helped push like, okay, what could I come up with that kind of follows this category? And that really helped with that. Yeah, and then I think everything else kind of just falls into place from there. Like I learned how to do my own quarterly taxes, which was so confusing at first.
Oh yeah.
Shipping, I think I've really gotten like handled. I kind of can figure out what box to pick from looking at the items. Like, okay, it's gonna fit in this thing, or it's gonna cost about this much. Like I've done it so many times. I think it's very consistent. So it's very easy to know what to expect when it comes to a lot of shipping. Um, Having USPS pick up items at your door is super helpful. So if you're
Right.
ever doing fulfillment and you have a lot of packages, you know how much time it takes to take everything to the post office and
Oh
fit it in
man.
the little compartment and you put boxes in and you close it. It just takes forever. So if you are able to schedule pickups, it's very helpful with that. And then going back to what you mentioned, where like you people say like you won't have to work a day in your life. I also would like to say that like um, when I was working internships in college, which I did three of over the past um, 3, 4 years of college, um, I had so many moments where I was just like, this is not a good use of my time, or like they were doing projects that I felt were so repetitive, or things that were like they had endless meetings to go through the same project that was not going
Yeah,
anywhere. I was like, this is, I know that I'm being compensated, but I'm like, this is just not a good use of my time. But with having your own business, you get to decide what is worth your time and learn what to prioritize. And I feel like with my business, I make so much better use of the time that I have. And I know what I need to work on. I know what I need, like projects that are coming up or things that I want to do. So I feel like the time that I actually dedicate towards working, I am being more productive and I'm doing better things with my time.
absolutely.
Um, so I think like just the sense of like having your time be more, it's just worth it in terms of like,
Yeah,
yeah, just not wasting time on things that you may not care as much about. Like I know so many people are in jobs where they could care less about what they're working on or who they're working
totally.
with or anything. So, you only have so much time on this planet. And if you are working towards things that you're proud of or passionate about, I think it's so important to, staying motivated.
I agree 100%. And speaking of motivation and kind of going back to talking about inspiration, are there creators that you follow and look up to and kind of, get that little inspirational spark? I mean, I know there's a lot of other, slime creators and things. Are there any of them that you look up to and kind of can get ideas from each other every now and again? Because I assume with slime, like a lot of people are dabbling in the same things, but every now and again you might see something that you didn't think of or that you need
Hmm.
to implement in what you offer to kind of stay, keep up with the game, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. I think unlike many people that may have see their role models as people that are a lot bigger, like numbers wise or time that they've been in business or anything, and they looked at them, they're like, I want to be like them someday. I'm kind of the opposite, where my biggest role models are the people that I grew with, or people that are on like the same stage that I am. There are a handful of people that grew their slime business the same time I started, and we kind of all grew together. And I take the most like inspiration and everything from them because they're at the same stage that I am, and I kind of see myself in them when they do different stories of like what a day in their life looks like, or what kind of things
Right.
that they're working on, or even people that are in different fields or different making different things. Like I know a lot of creators that are making like oven baked clay sculptures or like jewelry or things like that. But they're in very similar stages than I am, and but they're making like content with a different twist. I take a ton of inspiration about what kind of content that they're making and what they're talking about and what kind of things that they're talking about to their audience. And um, yeah, I love taking all different aspects of what I see on social media and kind of making it my own, and kind of twisting my personal branding to be like what I really love from creators and what I would love people to see from, my story and the things that I'm putting out there. And yeah, like taking inspiration from everyone around us for sure.
I'm guessing you probably have some fans. Do you ever have people
Yeah.
reach out and ask about, advice on making their own
Yeah.
slime or anything
Mhm.
like that? That's got to be pretty cool.
All the time. I've had many people email me, message me, like saying that they want to start a business like me, or they've been watching for years, or they did start a business and it's because of they watched my videos. Or I've had many instances where I would do pop ups, and then I've had people come up to me in person and be like, "I've been following you for 5 years," or "I've been following you since you did this thing." And like, that's so crazy because being on social media, you see all these little icons and these people that don't really seem real until,
Yeah.
in person, you're like, oh, you're actually a real person.
Yeah.
And it just makes the impact of what you're doing feel so much more real. And it's really amazing. Um, and yeah, like I've seen so many people that would reach out because of that. And it really does mean so much because a lot of the times when you're spending all these hours making content and making all these things, you really do question like, is this really reaching the right people that I want to reach? And is anyone going to care about this? And I really care about it, but does it like affect someone else the same way?
Yeah.
So hearing even one person say that, like, I've inspired them in some way is so fulfilling. And it's something that I don't think I would have been able to get from having any other job, like having that direct impact on someone. Like I think it's so amazing with creating your own projects, creating your own products, because um, you're inspiring so many people by just doing what you love, and that's really amazing.
Yeah, you're showing people that it's a possibility and that they can actually take their passion and potentially turn it into a
Hmm.
viable career, right?
Yeah.
So with this, I'm assuming that a lot of your stuff is online sales, but we talked a little bit in person about you going out to some different types of, whether it be like a craft fair or something like that, to where you're selling it and you have a booth and everything. So what's that experience like? Because that kind of gets you in that position where you're meeting actual people and
Hmm.
everything. That has to be fun to kind of, because we kind of get in our little bubble, especially with social media and when we're
Yeah.
doing stuff through there, like you were just talking about. Like it has to be refreshing and to get out and interact with people and like get their feedback in real time, I would guess.
Yeah. So I'd say the majority of my business is from e-commerce, so through my own website. And then another portion of it is partnering with toy stores in the area to be a retailer for them. And then another part is doing pop-ups. And they kind of range from craft fairs to like makers fairs on college campuses or different schools, and kind of figuring out like where my target audience is going to be. Um, and yeah, it's so fun. It's a completely different experience than figuring out how to market yourself online, because now you're worried about like signages and like what colors speak to people, and like
Right.
are these things shown enough, and like the people that are coming to this fair, what are they looking for, and like what kind of things are they are like going to catch their eye, and like presentation matters so much when you are to working with so many people that are just passing by, or like they're so curious, or maybe never heard of them. And that's another thing where I encounter so many people in person that have never heard of slime, or have kids that know slime but they don't know anything, or um, it's I always meet so many people that are so curious about it.
Yeah.
It's really great. It's so fun, because again, I get to hear so much like real time feedback. People that buy it immediately open it and like they're playing with it, and I hear like they're like, "Oh, this," or like, "This smells so good." I hear the smell so good one a lot, and it's really
I
great that
bet.
I hear that feedback, because online I don't really hear as much if people like certain scents or don't like certain scents. I know I like them, and I know the people that I asked to test them like them, but it's great to hear that as well. And yeah, the more that I do them, the more I want to do them more, and they're so fun. It's also a really great way to advertise yourself to the local community, because you're not just trying to outreach farther as much as you can, but get yourself more known within your community or people
Yeah.
around you. It's really great. And I have one coming up this month, and then two
Oh,
more next
cool.
month. So that's really fun.
Very cool. Yeah, and one of the things I learned from you that I knew that I hadn't implemented yet was you gave me one of your stickers and you or a
Yeah.
few of your stickers, which my wife loved, by the way. And
Yeah.
you said stickers are one of the best ways
Yes.
to advertise. So now
Everyone
we
loves a
have
good sticker.
we have nerdy
Yeah,
musings
wait, that's so
stickers. We
awesome.
even have a sparkly one that she made.
Yeah,
She made those on her Cricut machine, so we
I've
could.
always wanted one. That's so
It's
cool.
awesome. Yeah, I won. I basically won Christmas a couple years ago in getting her a Cricut machine and all
That's
this
the
stuff
best Christmas gift.
because she
Yeah.
utilizes it a ton. And yeah, apparently you can do stickers on there
Yeah.
too.
People
So
people love stickers. It works so much better than, handing out coupons or handing out flyers, because people are gonna look
yeah,
at it and be like, okay. But if you have a good sticker that's really cute, and it just has like your name somewhere, it doesn't have to be big, it just has to be on there somewhere. Because you don't want something that's super like flashy that looks just like trying to
yeah,
advertise my brand. But like especially now with like people love collecting water bottles and filling those things with
Yeah,
stickers or
everybody puts
putting
it on there.
stickers all
Yeah.
over their cars or like just anything. Like um,
Laptop,
people
iPad
are yeah,
case.
all over their laptops. Like, me included. I have stickers everywhere.
Yep.
But they're more likely to keep the sticker and then put it somewhere where someone else may see it or someone else may ask about it. Um, Ever since I started doing that, I've had so many people that I know would message me and be like, "Hey, my cousin has a sticker of yours on their water bottle. How did they get this?"
That's
I'm like, "I
awesome.
don't know, but somehow it ended up there." You know,
Yeah.
um, there's just I see it everywhere now, and like I've seen it like randomly in downtown Seattle, like on a wall somewhere. I'm like,
Oh,
"Oh, that's so strange."
that's so cool.
Yeah. So now whenever I do pop-ups, I bring tons of stickers to give out, and people love stickers. So I do both where I have some on the table with like a free sign, like please take, and then I have um, ones that I keep on hand that I give out. And it's a really great way to draw people in because as people are walking by, they're always doing the thing where they're kind of far and they're like looking, is that like they're gonna
Yes.
walk away. They're like, hey, do you want, would you like a sticker? And then they'll have to come up to get it from you and end up looking at your
Absolutely.
products closer and you draw them in that way. And that's always been like my strategy for doing pop-ups, and it works really well because then people are looking at your products a lot closer and they're more likely to touch things or look at things
Yep.
closer. Um, yeah, stickers. You never
Do
know.
you keep some sample slime out for people to interact with when they come to your booth, or is it
So
all
that one is a very tricky part
I was gonna
because
say because it could get like dirty and stuff
yeah,
from
I
multiple
never really
people
knew
handling it.
what to do about that because slime is very different than like a candle where everyone just wants to smell it. I've kind of experimented with many different ways. I've had lots of pop-ups I've done where no touch, it's just you can't open anything.
Right.
And then I've tried ones where I'll have designated samples for people just to smell only. And then
Yeah.
if anyone asks to touch, I'm like, oh, sorry, it's like not so sanitary if I don't
That's
like
the
everyone
thing,
touching the
right?
same
Yeah,
thing.
the
And
sanitary part.
then I've tried ones where, which is kind of like my strategy now, is um, I have the samples out that are smell only, so people can pick them and smell them as they please. And then if anyone asks to touch it, I have a couple that are like behind the table that you have to ask to touch. And then normally I have an extra person come with me that's like kind of doing a demo. So he's like stretching out slime, flipping
Yeah.
things, like doing crazy stuff. So people come up and like, what's
Nice.
and if they want to touch it, they can touch that one. And then it kind of helps with the people that don't really know how to play with slime and they get like they touch it and they're like, oh, it's kind of sticky. Because then if it's someone there that's designated to help them, they can teach them how to handle slime
Right,
and
right.
like you play with it like this. And then because they're touching it, you can start talking to them, kind of giving like your sales pitch. So that's what I've been doing where um, people can come up and smell as they please, but then if they like the touch, we have one where like we can kind of like walk you through it if you don't know how, or if you do know how, like there's someone there to help you.
Yeah, I think that's really smart.
And it's more controlled that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Well, along those lines of having somebody helping you, is your business growing to the point now to where you're thinking about, hey, I might need a little help in the production and things. Like if this keeps growing the way that it is, I'm gonna have to scale up and maybe have some people helping. Has that ever crossed your mind?
Yeah, I get asked about it all the time, like when
But
I'm
it's
going
hard,
to.
right? Because I have a
Yeah,
feeling
it's
you're like
hard.
me. I think you
Hmm.
like to be in control of all aspects of
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big challenge for me because
Most
I like things
entrepreneurs,
done a certain way, and it's very
yeah,
hard to get someone to figure out like what your vision is and try to communicate that well. Um, and like doing things like renting a warehouse and expanding, those are very scary and very
they
risky. So
are.
um, it's a really great accomplishment to get to, and it's just very scary. But I would love to be at that point one day, and um, I could definitely see that. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so cool that it's grown like relatively quickly. I
Hmm.
mean, 8 years is nothing. That's,
Yeah,
you know, the
especially
older
on
you
my own,
get,
like that's really crazy for,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And the older you get, the more you'll look back on that and be like, oh, 8 years is like a blink of an eye, you know?
yeah,
'Cause things accelerate more the older you get. You're like, how is it
mhm.
Christmas already again? It seems like
Right?
2 weeks ago was Christmas.
Yeah, it's so fast.
Well,
Mhm.
I've had so much fun today, and I've learned so much more that I didn't even know, from listening to
Yeah,
you speak on the panel. I want to give you the stage now and let you tell everybody where they can find your website, where they can purchase the slime, where you're at on social media. The stage is yours. Give them all the details, Angelina.
sure. So you can find Firefly Slime on pretty much all social media, just at Firefly Slime. We're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and you can find slime and more of like what going on through the business at Firefly Slime.
Awesome. Very efficient. Got everything under the same tag,
Yeah,
when
yeah,
people come on and like
makes it very
it's like,
easy.
yeah, YouTube is this, but Instagram's different and TikTok is
Yeah,
like, oh yeah, that gets confusing for people. Well, listen, Angelina, hang out with me for a moment while I give my spiel to everyone about where to follow us and all of that. But I've really enjoyed having you on today. Happy New Year. And I
yeah,
hope to have you back on one day as things continue to grow.
yeah. I'd love to. Happy New Year to you too.
Awesome. Well, everybody who's listening, if you're already listening, you know where the podcast can be found. I always recommend you watch the YouTube version, especially when we have examples of what people do in the background, like Angelina's awesome, very well organized supplies and everything. It always adds more to the podcast. You can also listen on any audio podcast platform or on all the major ones. Wishing everybody out there a very happy new year. And as always, keep it nerdy.